Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. So, as some of you might know, I just had the privilege of spending a week and a half at Camp Tamarack with my family. Needless to say, I haven't been in a camp setting in quite some time, so I couldn't help but marvel and smile at what I saw and experienced. So I'm excited to share with you a few things this morning that I noticed these past couple of weeks that can teach us how to better live our lives even when we are not at camp. First, at camp, we say a blessing before and after every meal, embracing a millennia-old practice and ancient words, making the time for gratitude and song. At one point, I went to use the restroom, and an anonymous camper, seated in a stall, taking care of business, was proudly shouting the Birkat Hamazon, the grace after meals, from the top of his lungs. And if not for the malodorous venue, I might have stuck around to listen to the whole thing. It made me so happy. We're taught in the Talmud that one is forbidden to derive benefit in this world without a blessing, and that anyone who derives benefit without a blessing, it's as if they're guilty of misusing a consecrated object. Rabbi Charnina Bar Papa goes even further, teaching Kol haneheneh min haolam hazeh belo bracha ki'ilu gozel hakadosh baruch hu uchneset Yisrael. Anyone who derives benefit from this world without a blessing, it's as if they stole from God and the community of Israel. So, chavarai nevarech, friends, let us bless, both before and after meals, every day, at every meal. Let's take a moment to express words of blessing and gratitude. Second, at camp we cheer each meal for our particular village, often shouting its name and taking pride in our subgroup. For Seinfeld fans, it felt a lot like the guys who keep shouting, Mandelbaum, Mandelbaum, Mandelbaum. Or for the Adam Sandler fans, O'Doyle rules, right? I've always wanted to say that on the Bima, sorry. But in Tamarack's case, the chants were names of our community's philanthropic leaders, with the campers repeatedly shouting names like Schiffman, Berman, Applebaum at the top of their lungs. In an era where it's preferable to be a universalist, and we feel sometimes uncomfortable with particularism, at camp, particularism is alive and well. We learn in the Talmud that when it comes to loaning money, a members of one household takes precedence over everyone else. The poor of one's household takes precedence over the poor of one's city, and the poor of one's city takes precedence over the poor of other cities. In other words, Judaism embraces particularism as a means for allowing us to be inspired to go and then do universal repair work. It's taking care of ourselves so that we can then go and take care of others. It's why in Pirkei Avot we find Hillel's famous teaching, Im ein ani li mili, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? But then it's immediately followed with Uchshe'ani le'atzmi ma'ani, and when I'm only for myself, what am I? In our daily lives, we can stand up in our figurative chairs and shout out our particularistic Jewish pride to the world, just like we do for our respective villages at camp, while still acknowledging that we're part of and have obligations to humanity broadly. Our tradition expects both particularism and universalism of us. Third, we look forward to Shabbat all week at camp, and Shabbat day itself is overwhelmingly unscheduled. On Shabbat morning, there are prayer services. In the evening, there's a Havdalah dance party. And in between, whatever will be, will be. It's a choose-your-own adventure. No agenda, no schedule, a chance for simple pleasures to rest and see where the day takes you. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel taught that Shabbat is the day on which we learn the art of surpassing civilization. One of my rabbis in seminary shared with our class that it was her practice when selecting produce at the grocery store, that when she found that best tomato, pepper, whatever it might have been, that best piece of produce, she set it aside for Shabbat. We have the ability to look forward to Shabbat every week, and we have the ability to avoid overscheduling ourselves and to see where the day takes us. Fourth, I've never purchased a pedometer knowingly, but apparently my iPhone has one built into it. And let me tell you, at camp, we get our steps in. Hoping to hit 10,000 steps a day? Please, you've hit that by lunch. My first day on the grounds, I walked almost 10 miles. And notably, walking at camp is almost never done solo. We walk with others. We may not arrive on time, but we arrive together. It's easy to forget sometimes living in deep Midwestern suburbia, where sidewalks aren't always a thing, and where our cars are at our fingertips, that walking with others is not only healthful for our bodies, but for our spirits and souls as well. Not to mention, with gas prices being what they are, and emissions, walking's better for the world too. There's a story in the Talmud where Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania shares the following. One time I was walking along the path and I saw a young boy sitting at the crossroads. And I said to him, "On which path shall we walk in order to get to the city?" He said to me, "Well, this path is short and long, and that path is long and short." I walked on the path that was short and long. And when I approached the city, I found that gardens and orchards surrounded it, but I didn't know the trails leading through them to the city. So I had to walk back. And I met the young boy again, and I said to him, "My son, didn't you tell me this way is short?" He's like, "But didn't I tell you that it's also long?" I kissed him on his head and said to him, "Happy are you, people of Israel, for you're all exceedingly wise from your old to your young." We can all make more of an effort to regularly take walks. The longer, the better. And when we take them with friends, like we do at camp, they'll feel short. Finally, at camp we don't just read books. We tell stories. Campfire stories, ghost stories, legends of campers past. No pages in front of us, all shared from memory, meaning that every version of the story is just a bit different. Now this might surprise you, but biblical Hebrew doesn't have a word that means history. The word we find most often is zachor, memory. History is something that happened to someone else at some other time, while memory is the past internalized into one's identity. Hearing stories builds identity and memory in a way that simply reading those same stories on a page never could. Rabbi Nachman of Bretzlav taught, "People say that stories are good for putting one to sleep. But I say that through stories, people can be woken from their sleep." Stories have the power to mobilize us to profound and righteous action. So to summarize, let's offer words of blessing before and after each meal. Let's be loud and proud cheerleaders for the Jewish people. Let's look forward to Shabbat every week and bring intention to having Shabbat flow for us, bookended by gathering in community. Let's take long walks with friends, and let's share the stories of our lives and of our people with one another and our younger generations without simply reading them off the page, inspiring us all towards some holy chutzpah. And unlike Las Vegas, let's make sure that what happens at camp doesn't stay at camp. Shabbat Shalom.